Right now, new information on the U.S.-led effort to keep Iran's nuclear ambitions in check. Diplomats from 6 world powers and Iran are gathering today in Baghdad. The 6 nations offering Iran new proposals as concerns about its atomic program mount. Steve Harrigan joins us live from Baghdad. Steve.
John, we're just getting some unconfirmed reports that these one-day talks could extend into tomorrow, and certainly the stakes could be no higher. These talks have already affected the global oil market, and if they are evidently unsuccessful, it could mean an eventual military strike against Iran and perhaps war. It could also influence gas prices in the U.S. and perhaps the presidential election, so the stakes indeed are high. It's 6 world powers on one side of the table, Iran on the other side. The world powers are intensely interested in uranium enrichment. They want Iran to stop high-grade uranium enrichment up to 20% levels that could easily be turned into fuels for nuclear weapons. On the Iranian side, they are pushing hard against sanctions that have crippled Iran's economy. They want those sanctions reduced. So far, U.S. has taken a cautious approach to the talks, saying they're going to look at Iran's actions, not words, not promises with no timetables. On the other end, on the extreme end, is Israel, not a part of these talks. They have been highly skeptical of them, saying Iran is simply buying time while continuing to pursue nuclear weapons. As for Iran, they continue to claim their nuclear program is only for civilian use, even the facility they have deep underground in the city of Qom. So a second day of intensely important talks continuing likely tomorrow. John, back to you.
All right, Steve Harrigan reporting live for us. Thank you, Steve. For more on this, let's bring in Joe Cirincione. He is the president of the Plowshares Fund and author of Bomb Scare, The History and Future of Nuclear Weapons. Joe, we are especially interested in inspecting this military facility at Parchin, right?
Yes, that's exactly right, John. And yesterday, it seems that we have a breakthrough. For the first time, Iran agreed with the International Atomic Energy Agency in principle to let its inspectors into this secret facility where they will investigate possible weapons work that we believe has gone on under that facility for the last 10 years.
But they have been known to break promises before. What leads you to believe they'll actually follow through this time?
We cannot trust the Iranians. They have been lying about their program for decades. So everything that they say has to be backed up by concrete actions. We can't make any concessions to them before we see them carrying through in the promises they made. That's what Director General Amana was saying, who's been the head of the IAEA, who's been very tough on the Iranians. He's waiting to see these words backed up by actions.
The oil embargo, the European oil embargo, is set to kick in 6 weeks. Is this perhaps Iranian desperation because they know that in a month and a half they're going to start having some real financial troubles?
That's exactly right, John. Iran is in a very, very difficult situation. The Obama administration and the Bush administration before it have, over the past 4 years, put together the toughest sanctions regime ever enacted on any country, and it is hurting Iran. Their economy is suffering. Their political establishment is splintered. They are in the most isolated position they've ever been in. That's why they're back on the table for the first time in 10 years, starting to offer real concessions. This is going to take some time. It's good news that you just reported out that the negotiations extend into a second day. It is tough to do this. You can't buy a house in one day. You're not going to be able to turn around a multi-billion-dollar nuclear program in one day. It'll be a step-by-step process.
At the same time, I mean, if they do obtain enough nuclear material to build a weapon, isn't it game over? I mean, how do we know that that kind of research isn't going on, you know, without the inspectors of the IAEA knowing about it?
That is exactly the key. So right now, they have enough material, if they were to put it back into their centrifuges, to build about 4 nuclear bombs. And they've had this material for a couple of years. They haven't done that. There is no indication, U.S. intelligence says there's no indication that Iran has decided to build a bomb, and if they did, it would take them at least a year or 2 to actually do it. So far, we're okay. But what you want to do is lengthen that time. The whole purpose of these negotiations is to have Iran stop enriching to very high levels, close to bomb grade, as you just reported. You want them to stop doing the 20% uranium. You want to take the stockpile of that 20% out of the country, and you want want to start closing down the facilities that can make it. All of that is to extend the time that Iran would need to break out of any agreement. That's the whole point of these negotiations. If you get that, you can start to give them some concessions, start to ease some of the sanctions. If you don't get it, you have to start considering other options.
The other options, that's the ominous part of all this.